Our guest today is Rodolfo Castro, creative director at Castro Design Studio, a boutique residential design firm in Atlanta, Georgia. His award-winning designs have been featured in publications like Atlanta Home, Modern Luxury, House Beautiful, and more. Known for his thoughtful designs and attention to detail, Rodolfo was named 15 Under 40, the next wave of tastemakers by Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles. Let's welcome Rodolfo to Building Brews and Barbecue. Hey, welcome to another episode of Building Brews and Barbecue. I'm Vince, your co-host. Alongside of me is
Nathan, your other co-host. Who do we have here today?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm jumping in.
Excited.
Yeah.
You're jumping right in.
Who do we have here today, bud?
Well, we're blessed and lucky to have Rodolfo Castro, the creative director for Castro Design Studio, an architectural firm here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm glad to say one of my good friends. We love Rodolfo. We've been knowing him for a long time. Rodolfo, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited and honored, and any excuse to hang out with both of you is a good day for me.
Heck yeah.
Well,
do you want to explain to him what we've got here today and why we did it?
I don't know how to explain this. Our main guy, Vin, here has homemade us some meatballs, some Italian beef sandwiches. So what we're doing here with Rodolfo is we wanted the idea with him being an architect, and on the architect side, it's comfort, it's home, they're drawing home, and with that, we came up with an idea of some comfort food that we want to partake in with a nice glass of cab, and that's what we're going to do. So listeners, you will be seeing a little more of a messy eat, but we are going to eat this, and when I say we, I am going to eat
That's
this,
right.
And the rest of y'all can do whatever you want, but I will be eating it.
We'll mute your mic a little bit.
Good. That'll be wise. I will rejoin this in 30 minutes. Y'all let me know. Y'all let me know what y'all are going to talk about. I'll pop in when I'm done.
That's right. And so we're going to eat while we talk, and no worries about some crunching on the mics. And
we'll get it started. I'll get it started. What, Rodolfo? Because I've gotten to know you, and I appreciate getting to know you from Vince. Vince is, so everybody knows, Vince introduced me to Rodolfo, and Rodolfo has actually drawn some house plans for us. Our 2020 parade house in one of our communities was drawn by you. Love it. It's actually something that people all the time kind of brings them to us, is that floor plan, so I appreciate that. What got you started?
My dad is a civil engineer, structural engineer, and he was a builder for a very long time. And my mom was an interior designer. So there really is nothing else I could have done with my life. One of my very first memories actually is walking a job site with my dad. Cool. And so that's something that I do now with my daughter, and hopefully she'll get the bug as well. But it's, I've always just loved construction sites and the smell of concrete and lumber and design. And when I had the chance to figure out what I wanted to do when I was a grown up, it was really the only thing I could think of.
What a perfect mix. Civil engineer, parent, and an interior design parent. That makes perfect sense as to how you became an architect, because you got to need both of those to become an architect. That's fantastic.
I always thought that at some point, Dad would build, Mom would do the interiors, and I would do the design. And it didn't quite work out that way, but I get to do this part now, and it really is. I mean, I always say if you have to work, and I do, I can't imagine a better job to have.
Yeah.
And I met Rodolfo, gosh, it's got to be 10 years ago now.
More than that.
Maybe more than that, yeah, at least. And I do remember when you were working out of your house, and then you got your first office, and now you're in an incredible space because you just keep growing. And it's a real testament, really, because from day one, and that's what I think Nathan really liked about you as well, is you're so approachable. And not only approachable from a business standpoint, but you're so approachable as a person, and thoughtful, and you're really there to listen. And that's, in my opinion, what gets missed a lot of times is, especially in that design and the intent. And it's just so refreshing. And it's been all these years now, and your personality's not changed, even with all your fame.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And of course, getting to work with you and to be your friend for all these years is is amazing. And, we professionally, I love collaborating with you. You always make it so easy on me. It's really a lot of fun to work together. And the way I figure it is like, if you're going through the process of building your own house, it's not an inexpensive exercise. It can be very stressful, but I think it can also be a lot of fun and really enjoyable. And so, I've worked for different people with different approaches. And the way I see it is like, if you get to the point where you're hiring me, it's because you haven't found the perfect thing for you. So my job is to listen and try to figure out what that perfect thing is for you, that perfect house. And it's I don't see it as an ego thing, but I get so happy when I go, a few months down the road and there's like scratches on the walls and you can tell that people have been like, red wine stains on the counters and stuff like that. That's what really makes me happy, is when I know that people are really, really enjoying their spaces.
Gosh, that's like nails on a chalkboard to me as the builder. Because I don't know if he's talking about the subcontractors or my guys did that.
Yeah. You're the one that gets the call like, these red wine spots keep appearing on my marble. I don't know how they're getting them.
I just had
stop enjoying your house so much.
I just had PTSD. He was talking about red wine. I blacked out a bit. That's not the call I want. He's over here wanting that call.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
the call I want.
Well, Nathan, I wanted to ask you, because you came to visit me and you've seen a lot of homes, around Atlanta in all the times you've been here. Rodolfo was probably the first architect in Atlanta that you decided to work with you in Oklahoma to design not only a regular home, but a parade home, something that was going to be in a show. What made you, what did you find in Rodolfo that set a different?
It was everything you said and that you talked about. It was that he listened, right? And so there's so many times that you go, which I get, because if you're an architect, you've become an architect. It's the same as interior designers. You want to put your flair on it. You want to put your stamp of approval on it, no different than us as builders want to do. So what was great, though, is the collaboration. Like you talked about, we collaborated. Not that I have the greatest ideas ever, but I'm like, hey, these are things that I think do well here. Maybe not in Atlanta, but in Oklahoma City. Let's try to throw some of these things in. Let's not do that. And he was like, okay, yeah, we don't usually do that, but let's try that. Just being able to collaborate instead of being like, well, I'm going to draw a Rodolfo plan and that's what you're going to take no matter what market you're in, because everything's different. You guys do a lot of basement work out here. We do a little bit of basement work out here in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, something that's wild for what I've noticed for a lot of other markets is you cannot put a master bedroom on the second floor. If you want to sell a house and the master bedroom's on the second floor, it is wild. Like, people will almost not buy the house. Now, I have built these houses for custom customers, which is great, but it's not seen. You come here, if I would have just taken a plan of Rodolfo's or he didn't listen to me, we'd have a master on the second floor or whatever, because there's a lot of that around here. So getting to collaborate, and then obviously getting to see the homes that he had done before, it was going to be such a fresh take on something that we could put out there.
It must have been really difficult, though, for him to take the 3-car garage and make it the 1 car for a pickup truck, and the other 2 stalls were actually for horses.
Yes, that's right.
How did you deal with that in Oklahoma, Rodolfo?
It was fun, though. Like, Nathan said, it's flat and the lot's as big as you want it to be. And when have you heard that in Atlanta?
Never.
He loved it. He loved it. He's like, so how wide he kept asking me how wide it was. I said, man, don't worry about it. He's like, no, I need to know. I finally went and looked it up. I was like, it's 382 feet wide. He was like, oh, never mind. You're right. I don't need to worry about it. I said, no, you don't need to worry about it. Just draw something on here and let's go. He's like, he's like, this is great.
Yeah, we're always battling for inches. And it's such a luxury to have space.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. I still remember that. He's like, no, I really need to know. I was like, you really don't. But I guess I can get it for you. It's over 300 feet. He was like, no, I don't need to know. Because you're right. You're battling for inches inside of the greater Atlanta area and out where we are east of Edmond. Man, we're on 2-acre lots out there. We don't have a worry in the world.
Yeah. Rodolfo and I did a house about a year ago where it had like a 50-foot frontage. It was pie shaped, and which he can deal with. But the little kicker was it dropped almost 60 feet from in about 170 feet. So it was like straight down. So it's like, I just looked at Rodolfo and said, good luck with this one. And it turned out incredible. Now, I will say, obviously this is, this could become the We Love Rodolfo show.
It should.
Because
It can do that.
Well,
I'll be back next week.
he's a guest on our show, so I think that's what it is.
Yeah, no, but it's actually deeper for me because I do have one little bit of a gripe. And for our listeners, Rodolfo designed my home with my wife's help and them, and he really listened, and they came together with a design that's incredible. And as a builder, I like to live places for just a couple years because that's Section 121 of the IRS code, in which we can sell your primary residence every couple years. So for years and years, I did that until we moved into a Rodolfo home. And we're going on the 8th year there. And I even mentioned it to my wife, we should really look at maybe by doing another one. And she's like, no. She's like, you're going to have to take me out of here in something I don't want to say, but it was wild. But that's a huge testament.
Well, that means the world to me. But you should also tell Amber that we can do another one. Just every 2 years.
Every
she
2 years.
listens to the show.
I don't know if our wives will listen to the show. They should, but I don't know if they will.
It's funny.
Man, we have some questions on some stuff. So if the listeners see me looking down, we just got some ideas because we do want to have as much fun as we can. We also want listeners to learn something, And so I kind of like this one. I like this question here. What architectural feature, design element that's often overlooked can completely transform a home, in your opinion? What is something that if someone's not working with you, they're in my market working with another architect, what is something that you think, man, people miss this a lot, but if they kind of honed in on this, it'd be awesome?
I don't know that there's one feature necessarily, like if you're looking at a listing, you need to tick off. But to me, it's always about light. And it's probably because I'm claustrophobic but and I'll work through that in therapy at some other point.
Sure.
But to me, it's always about the natural light and how you can take a small and otherwise uncomfortable space and just make it feel so great. So that's really one thing. And when you're designing houses as custom like we do, those clients haven't found whatever it is. So for each one, it's something different. It could be, the gym's not big enough, or we need offices, or we have this very particular need. And so for them, that one thing that they need in the house has been overlooked in the list, but it's never the same.
I've that conversation a lot. That's because you've said a couple of things and you've said that now twice, they haven't found it. And I have that conversation a lot with customers. I'm sure you do as well. I'm like, listen, when we're going into pre-construction or we're going to do this, I want to know what makes you all tick, because something else that you said is, hey, there are enough stories out there that people know when they're going to custom build that it can be hard. And you're right. It doesn't always have to be hard, but it can be hard because we are, as I like to tell people, we are using imperfect material put together by imperfect people. And it can be a hard challenge. So, but what we do need, what I like what you're saying is, tell us what you didn't find out there. What is it that you were looking for so we can help get you what you want, because there's a reason you're here. There's a reason you want to custom build this.
Absolutely. It's I tell people what we're going to do at first is just talk.
Yeah.
You're going to come in and tell me about your dream house, whatever stories you want to tell me, things from when you were a little kid, anything. And I'm just going to sit here and don't think that I'm not doing anything. I'm just trying to absorb it all. Because it is in those stories that, you get little peeks of what it is that they're really looking for.
Yep.
How do you entertain? I'm not a very social person. My wife is, and I've happened to work with a lot of people that are this way. So, one of them was a chef in a previous life, and the way he communicates his love for people is by making food for them. So it was very important that was really, literally the center of the house is the kitchen and the dining space, and everything revolves around that. And it's I know you hear that a lot, but it's not to this degree.
Sure.
So that was very important for them. And actually, having worked in a professional kitchen, the requirements are a lot more different than, just a regular, like, it looks pretty and we can cook in it. Mm-hmm. There are like things that I would never do, like the island's really close to the range, because, you can
turn around and do
exactly do all the stuff. Whereas most people are thinking, there's going to be like 3 kids running around, or when we're entertaining, everybody's going to be trying to like get ice for their drink or whatever. So it's cool, and you get to like really get to know people on a very personal level really quickly. Otherwise, the process is difficult for them too, and I'd have a hard time telling people, my deepest, darkest secrets. Sure. But that's kind of what I'm asking them to do in a way.
Yeah.
What is home to you is a very
different.
Exactly.
For everybody. Man, something he said though is so true on the other one.
Yeah.
He likes light.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I estimated his plan, had no idea how much I was going to spend on windows. No idea. Got that, ended up getting that. I said, holy smokes. But I will say, you're right. It made a huge difference because it's thoughtful of where light's not only one window it's coming through, the window that it's then traveling back to.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much of these sight lines that you think through that I don't think through. And until you build it, you're like, oh, yeah, this is awesome.
Oh, yeah. Perfect placement.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I know we did a house together, and it was like, you like to call it a rambler. Right? And
that one had a lot of glass. You did some cool stuff in that.
We did some cool stuff together in there. But it wasn't until after, just like you're saying, Nathan, is that you got in there and you're standing there and you had the light, because some of those rooms were one room deep. Granted, big rooms with tall ceilings, but it almost felt like the light was hitting you from both sides, like almost uplifting you.
Yeah.
And it was something I'd never experienced, to be able to see this way, and then just to be engulfed with that light. So that was really cool. So I love the use, but yeah, it doesn't.
How much were those windows though?
Well, I can't. Yeah. I'm trying to forget.
Vince did these like really cool steel 14-foot tall French doors that are just spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they'll take out your hand if you're not careful, but you could just, anybody could use them. It was really cool.
And it was right out to the pool.
Was that great house? Was that great house in Buckhead?
No, it was white, and it was the one on the lake. They own this beautiful lake.
Mm-hmm.
And Rodolfo, that was so funny. I got a call from the customer, and just to tell that story, and because it's indicative of how awesome, home plan designers, architects are, and how thoughtful they are when it comes to this. Because I got a call from that customer one morning saying, "Did you know that we went to the site today and it was just trees?" And they're like, and we're like, "Who is up there sitting in a lawn chair?" And it was Rodolfo. He was out there just feeling the way the light was moving. Do you remember that?
And
or I do that all the time.
I try to do it on every project if I can get there. But and that was such a spectacular place anyways that, I could have stayed there all, forever. But their big thing in that one was the house where they lived was so dark, and it made them feel sad.
Mm-hmm.
So it has more glass than most, and it is a narrow house that gets exposure from multiple sides at all times. But that was what they really, really wanted. And of course, that cool stair that she wanted to have, from the movies, the ball gown, and
mm-hmm.
Their bedroom was on the main floor, but we did do this really amazing wraparound stair.
It was.
So she can come down when they're having parties.
Yeah,
I think
and she does it.
Yeah.
I think that was the first house when we came and you introduced me to Rodolfo, you took me there, and there is a picture of me standing in one of those steel doors.
Yeah.
There's a picture of me standing in the steel door. The house was under construction, I believe, and I was standing in the door because they were monsters that led out to the back. Right?
They were. Yeah. Vince sent me this picture of a guy on like a 20-foot ladder, like, putting the glazing in and all. It's insane. And that's some of the cool stuff that you can do when you do your own. It's probably not something that you would do on a speculative project, but for somebody that is so important to them. And so we were talking, and we drew these doors at like 8 feet and transoms, and Vince was like, I'd like to figure out how to make them go all the way up. And I was like, dude, if you can do that, you're my hero. And he sure did.
Yeah, it worked out awesome.
Yeah,
something Rodolfo said that caught me earlier is when you were saying you like to sit there and listen and just hear the stories, tell them about your childhood. But you remember when I did that, we sat down and did that with my wife and did that. I ended up owing you an extra few $1,000s because you had to go to the doctor to get because of all the psychologists, because of all the things I was saying. I think I went a little too deep on that one.
Oh, you'd be surprised. I mean, it's but again, it's like so cool because as an introvert, it's hard for me to really get to know people. Yeah. It's a process, and so this way, I get to know people in a way that's very comfortable for me, and that is very comfortable for them, and honestly, like some of my best friends are people that I've done work for in the past, and I mean, it's amazing because otherwise I don't know that I know anybody.
He's an introvert, and the poor guy has to be around us two that are extroverts. And I see him at your Rue party house out in Serenby, and I just corner him outside up against the grill. He's probably trying to leave.
No,
I had him cornered for 20 minutes. I'm like, let's talk, man.
No,
see.
It was so cool to see you there. I really didn't expect that at all.
I didn't either. He surprised me as well.
Yeah, it was awesome.
We told him we couldn't make it because we just had a baby. We had our fourth kid in May, and that was in August.
Oh my god!
And so he was like, "Hey, it would be great if y'all could come out." I was like, "We can't make it. We had a baby. We can't make it, obviously." So he had no idea. And there we were standing in the kitchen when he came in.
I was like, "Wait a minute."
He said, "I know y'all, but you're not supposed to be here."
Yeah, and that was a great project. You really did a great job on that house.
It was fun.
You did do a great job. You did.
It was fun. Back to what we were talking about. You've got that inspiration. How do you level set? Because, nowadays, the customers, what I find, expect the answers or expect something done so fast. And I know we try to do our best to level set them. Hey, pre-construction is going to take a few months. How do you do that? Because you're awesome at that, of level setting them as to how long these things will take, whereas I make a mess of it.
Same.
I mean, I think you're pretty good at it too. And it's
yeah. See, showing some grace.
It just, I've done it long enough that if you tell people what they really want to hear, it's just going to bite you.
Mm-hmm.
Design, it takes a while. I for every set of plans that I show somebody, there's the equivalent of 6 sets that are in the trash can that just weren't there.
Yeah.
And the way I explain it is, we're going to take your list and put as much of that on there as we can, get the big picture, get a price, get a bottle of wine, cry a little bit, and then we're going to have some information to edit to what is really, really important. So for some people, everything's really important. For some people, the 8-car garage could really be 4, and that's okay. But having the information of like that first, like hard to swallow plan, and the time to actually get a price, the time to think through finishes, all that stuff that you do up front is going to save you at least that, but probably twice as much in construction. So, I know you want to start tomorrow, but if we take a week now, it's going to save you 2 weeks at the end.
Yeah.
Man, I love hearing him say that.
Oh, yeah.
That's it, because
He gets it.
He gets it, and my deal is what he said is unfortunately a weakness of mine. I enjoy inside of our company, because as owners we do a lot of things, but we have what we enjoy, and I really enjoy the face-to-face selling to a customer.
Mm-hmm.
But you nailed something of like, man, if you tell them what they want to hear, it's not actually what it is, because and everything as these houses have gotten larger, as they've gotten more complicated. Used to a design period on a house for us was 3 to 4 months. It's 6 to 9 now, of getting it. You're right. I have put my foot down on this now of, guys, I know 9 months in design seems like the worst thing that it could ever be. I promise you it's not. Being 2 years under construction's worse.
Way
worse. Than being 9, because if we're 9 months in design, we're 12 months in construction.
Exactly.
If we're 3 months in design, we're 24 months in construction. It is way worse than this. And you're right. They have this energy to start. Having a good teammate like Rodolfo is very helpful on that. And I hope our listeners are hearing this in a way of, hey, when you go in and you're ready to go, be ready to go, have that excitement. But no, getting there the correct way is going to take some time.
That's right. And it's going to take some iterations, and that's what we do a lot with you, Rodolfo, is we'll take that first plan, maybe not the ones that are in the trash, but we'll take that first set, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll put a budgetary ballpark to it. And that's what we tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we're within some percent here or there, but ultimately, if this is in that range, does it look good to proceed? Or do we need to make some changes? And you go back to your list and say, okay, if we got to do that, let's look at your list and what needs to come off a little bit. And what I've found is, and I know we talk about this a lot in the construction world, is when you have just enough to start, and that's what I call it the builder disease.
It is.
Right? Is the builders, I know in Atlanta and probably around the country too, it's everywhere, right?
It's everywhere.
Is, they just want to give the customers enough information to get that thumbs up because they want to get that contract, they want to get started. But don't worry, we'll figure out the rest on the way, whether it's design, whether it's selections, and all those come together. And I try to explain to the customer, no, we want this to be a longer process. Just like what you said, Rodolfo, is you're cutting weeks off that, but it's when you get to building, it's months. And when you're paying on a construction loan, those extra months could be tens of thousands of dollars,
right.
And if you just hold back. Let's go through these iterations, work with us in pre-construction. We got the team together, the power team. We're going to bring in the interior designer, the engineer, the audio and visual specialist. Says, how do you want to live in the lighting, the sound? And if we do that up front, you wind up with a happier customer.
Oh, yeah.
Someone that is really enjoying their home, that has made great decisions about the things that they can control.
Absolutely.
And the process goes faster. The build goes faster.
The build goes so much faster.
And when you have those selections done, the plans figured out, and you've taken the time up front to do that, it's the schedule's faster too. And the numbers are closer, your budget. If the schedule's right, the budget's right. It's hard to detach those from each other.
In the budget, when we go through such an in-depth pre-construction, when we're sending out for estimate or sending out for bids, we're able to give a much more clear articulation of what we want, of what the customer wants to send back, instead of, as I tell people, just a two-dimensional set of plans. If a customer walks in and just gives me a two-dimensional set of plans and says, estimate this, usually I can be like, well, I can estimate your construction cost. I don't know what anything else is going to be. I know what it's going to take me to do your foundation because I have a two-dimensional set of plans. I can do your but I have no earthly idea what your cabinets are going to cost. What do you want? And those kind of things. And so it matters. I mean, I'm going to give I don't even know this guy, but this Modern Splendid Homes, I believe, out of Arizona, or Modern Splendor Homes.
I've heard of them.
Out of Arizona, out in the Scottsdale area. I saved a video. And I love showing it to my customers. I think your guys' market you're usually, because you're bigger, it's a bigger city, you're usually a little ahead of us. Our market still has this idea that the builder is the power team. Hey, you're the builder. And this guy made an Instagram video. No, to build a luxury custom home, there are at the minimum, 3 people to get started. It is your builder, it is your architect, it is your interior designer. And he even said, lots of people think the builder is all 3. They are not. And if the builder tells you they are all 3, not a good idea. The builder needs the information from the architect and from the interior designer to then build. And in Oklahoma, I got sucked into the trap of like, we do it all because that's what our market does. We do it all. And you don't do it all. And going around and seeing how your homes finish out, seeing how homes in the Scottsdale area finish out. It's been so eye-opening to me to be like, no, we don't. We are a construction company. We do construction. You do architecture. And that's what we want to follow.
Well, and to me, it really is all about the team, right? So if I don't have Vince telling me like, hey, there's been a lot of storms this year and drywall's tracking 2x higher than we thought, what can we do 8 steps ahead so that we end up where we need to end? I'll recommend the prettiest thing all day, every day, but nobody wants to make their client's house poor.
Yeah.
Right. Like the worst thing you could ever do to somebody is give them a 75% done house when they're 95% out of money.
That's right.
So I think that's where, sometimes a lot of it is lost, is that you are working with, people's life savings and you're building their most sacred, most personal spaces where they're going to raise their children. Mm-hmm. So like, how much more personal do you get than that? And when people, like we work with people for 2+ years, generally, there'll be times when they'll be stressed out and, like unhappy. And it may be because of the project. It may be because of something else. But, having everybody on the same page, that's what makes the project go well and get through those points.
Great.
Yeah.
That's what I'm, even though we're new into the podcast world, this is what I am hoping for the listeners that ultimately gather this and listen. Vince and I have talked a lot. There's just a lot, and we love it because it's beneficial for us, a builder to builder podcast, things like that. We're really hoping here that we're getting out to the end user of homes, which is the customer. We're hoping this is something that they want to listen to and that they can get educated from. And I'm just loving that we're getting some of this stuff out there because, you just nailed something that I want the customers to realize before they get here is it is a lot of money, and spending that money going and I don't know how to word this as the politely, but looking for that best deal up front or the quickest path there, sometimes it leads you to spending more money. And this is something that even in our career of my career of being a builder, of having to realize like, no, even though, like you said, because that's the way the market is, that's if you've grown up around building, you've been around building, it's like, get started, get a contract, get started. And I've had to become way more firm the last couple of years of like, listen, if this is how we do it, and we won't do it any other way because I don't need any more people mad at me. I like, and this is the only way that we're able to get this done. And I hope that no matter what market you're in, if you're out searching for a builder, look for the guy that talks about having a team, a power team. We're going to go through this. We're going to get this right because it may stink because you and your husband or you and your wife have made a decision. We're going to build. And at that moment, you're as excited as you can be. Well, I know you want to go get started tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Go find the guy's like, no, we're going to use this time to make sure we plan it out accordingly and we do it right.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. And, it's if you do it right up front and you do that pre-planning, then those weekends during the build, the customer gets to show up with a cup of coffee or whatever and enjoy the process and make it, I know our goal is to make it a customer experience.
It is.
Right from start to finish. And putting those pieces in place up front makes that so much more enjoyable along the way. And because like you said, Rodolfo, is they're spending, in some instances, their life savings on something that they know is a true investment, and every dollar's got to have a name. And so that's always the end goal. But how we get them there is, I think, the difference maker.
It is.
And that to me is critical, because at the end of it, I want them to invite us over for a drink. I want them to be happy with their builder, instead of most of the time it's like, well, I got to wait 6 months till they finally are really happy with it.
I'll wave at them after the warranty period is done and we fix their punch list, which is what you don't want. And I know that it can feel sometimes on the consumer end that it's what we want. And some maybe do, but I would say the majority of builders that you meet, they want to do well and they want happy customers, and yes, it's construction. Yes, the horror stories people hear, those are out there. But man, not in the lanes in the industry that I run in, most people really do want to do people a good job. I think it's just, you nailed it. It is through construction about get started, get to contract, get started, get to contract, get started, get to contract, get started. And so that's just throughout the field. And it's like, no, we need to turn it over, because Vince and I have talked about this ad nauseum, and I'm nauseated talking about it even more. But it really is. The construction of building a home is becoming so much more about customer service.
Absolutely.
And it used to not, and because there's a switch in the buyer. The baby boomer generation was all about quality. And you could almost drive by and give them the double middle finger, but as long as you built their house well, they would just give it to you back and then give you a thumbs up, right? The having a relationship during the build just wasn't as important. It was, no, give me a good product and we'll be fine. The product being good is still out there, but the new generation of buyer rolling through is like, yeah, but I want this to be fun. I want this to be an enjoyable experience, which I feel like the builders that are seeing that writing on the wall that'll make those changes are going to do a good job, because the thing is the reason a lot of builders don't want to do it is it's hard.
It is. And I think it's, I'm not a kid anymore. And so I've had the honor of growing with my clients. Right. Mm-hmm. So some of my first clients, it was like, we have a baby on the way. We need a new bedroom. Like, I don't care how it happens. Just make it happen before they're here. Mm-hmm. But as they've, had their second and third house and they've gotten promotions and, it's a different product, and quality is always important. It's always going to be important. But again, it goes down to that, like, you're spending so much money on something, the level of luxury is higher. You expect a level of service with that price tag that we just have to provide. And I think we're all fortunate enough to be in a good market, and we have the luxury of, like, I know I lose jobs because I tell people it's not going to be fast, and that's okay.
Yeah,
like I don't need them.
They're getting what I've been told by somebody, and she was so right, is think about how much money, we've already talked about it. A lot of this is life savings, or the most money that, no matter the price point, if you're out buying a $200,000 home, it is the most expensive thing that you are buying.
100%.
$500, it doesn't matter. It's equally important across the board. It doesn't matter the price of the home. And she said, listen, luxury nowadays is way more accessible than it's ever been. And I never thought about that. My parents, it wasn't this accessible. She's like, listen, you can go, and I didn't know this was news to me, but she's like, you can go to the Gucci store and you can buy a $200, $250, $300. Y'all don't quote me on listening to this, but it's a smaller price tag, $200, $300 purse. It's or not purse, but wallet. It's the cheapest thing they sell. Keychain, maybe. It is the cheapest thing they sell, whatever it is. And she said, listen, these people, they pop champagne in the Gucci store for this person. Have a glass of champagne, and 45 minutes later, that customer's also getting a text message with like a $50 gift card to come back. They're like, listen, they're getting that level of experience buying something that's $200. What do you think they're expecting from you? And that just washed all over me, where I was like, way more than I'm giving them. A heck of a lot more than I'm giving them, because, and they're like this, and she was saying, because here's my problem. I'm in construction. I'm a builder. I don't go to the Gucci store. I had no idea this is what's going on in the world around me. She's laying it out like, this is what's going on in the world around you. This is what people are getting. And you're right. It's like, okay, then we got to get ready to
That's right. Or you're going to be left behind.
We're going to be left behind.
That's right. Yeah. That's wild. So when it comes to design, all your stuff is unique, one of a kind. If you were to build your own house and design your own house, Rodolfo, what would that look like?
You know, I think we've talked about this, and I hate that you asked me this.
He knew it was coming too.
But
you ain't right.
I'm not right. Sorry, that's
really
that
hard.
whole psychology. What is it? Psychology was.
I don't know. I can't even spell.
Sorry, I tried to use a big word on the podcast. That was a bad idea.
So, like I told you before, I think if you were building my house, you would absolutely hate me because I change my mind all the time.
So confirmed. We would dislike you very much.
Yes,
Yep.
very much
Very
so.
confirmed. Bill confirmed.
Very much so.
See, I'm calling BS because he's too nice to dislike.
No, I just, it's the same reason we moved into a 5-year house 20 years ago and still haven't done anything to it. So I really do change my mind all the time. And so some days I want to live in a glass cube, and some days I want to live in a Gothic library, and it may be the same day. So So I don't know. I have dreams of one of those little, white cubes and in a Grecian cliff or something, with nothing in it except just a window and a pillow to sit on. That probably is my Zen space, but because it's just so far from the reality of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's part of why I do what I do, and I'm lucky enough to have clients that hire me for, very modern things and very traditional things, is I get to do all of that for other people. But I don't know what my ideal house would be, honestly. If you ask my family, my daughter's drawn houseplants since she was tiny, and there's a room for each of the cats and a slide, and that was the very first one she drew.
That's the same house that my wife drew.
100%.
100%. Her latest one is a tiny house for hers in our backyard, so she can still come and have us do her laundry and cook for her, but she doesn't have to live with us. But yeah, I really don't know. I think, what feels like home is just, it really does change for me all the time. For me, it's really it sounds super cheesy, but it's about my family. Where they are is my home. But stylistically, gosh, just as long as it's not dark.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, what's funny, you said the Gothic. You drew up a Gothic style home several years ago for that couple in Bucket.
Yeah.
That was going to be it was the coolest Gothic style with those features. It had a Gothic style library. It had a single car garage, but it had a turntable Rodolfo designed in there the cars could be spun around, and it was 3 or 4 spaces.
It was 6 spaces with 1 door because it was a really narrow lot.
It was the coolest house.
It was.
Oh, we wanted to build that so bad.
We did. They were fun clients, and they really wanted something completely out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
And we got there, and then they realized that it was just a ridiculous thing to do with their money and on that lot. But gosh, it was fun to do.
It was fun. But I can see now why you've kind of got that.
Yeah.
Because it's much different than you typically, someone would come to ask you to design.
Yeah. So, we get a lot of the in between. So it's still kind of house shaped, but a little cleaner, a little more modern. Although we did have a house that's just been published that was very, very traditional, and I loved doing that. It had been a while since we got to do something that ornate. But yeah, I don't know. It's a hard question.
What about you, Vin? You got an idea on a house? Anything that
pretty much whatever he comes up with.
Whatever he comes up with.
Yes.
Man, all I've ever wanted is a study/library room of some kind with wood paneling. All I've ever wanted my entire life is a button tufted couch in there. That's it.
Built in or just
in there.
Standalone?
Just in there. Standalone, button tufted couch, paneling like a library, shelves that have books and bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And has a little vent that I can smoke cigars in with my friends.
With just one couch. That's it.
Maybe some chairs. But I just have always wanted a button tufted couch. I've never gotten it. Like you've been to my office. That's all I wanted in that office that I built. And it came out much more like Vinny's office here that had a little more modern. And the designer was like, listen, man, you're not getting it. And like she showed me the other couch, a Restoration Hardware couch that was way more modern. And I was like, you're right. You know, and so I still don't have it. I still don't have my button tufted couch, and it's all about it. And I just want to sip a bourbon and smoke a cigar in it. That's it.
Cool.
Then the rest of the house can be whatever my wife wants. And I'm the builder. I really don't care after that. I just want that one.
That's right.
And I still don't have it.
It's a good goal.
It's a good goal, isn't it?
What would you say is one of the main features that if someone driving around looked, they'd say, oh, that's a Rodolfo Castro house? If they drove around and looked at it from the front, is there something? Because I know we think that something.
I think of something.
Nathan and I both have an idea of what that might be.
Really?
Wondering if you're on the same page. Historically, not saying like today, but if you say, oh, and
yeah, because I think some things have changed today with the market changing and things you're doing, but there's definitely a vibe that I have picked up on that I think I could be wrong.
There were for a while it was like the swoops. You know, people really wanted the swoops.
Yeah, they did.
Gosh, I don't know. So that's. I'm curious to see what you guys think because I'd love to know.
You want me to?
You want to do it both at one time?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Radius front door.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That was big for a second.
Hey, full radius, the whole unit. I had to. So for you, it was easy. I had to go find somebody in my market. So Vince has one. Everyone has one of these doors. I had to go find someone to special make that dadgum door for me because they're like, we don't make a full radius unit. I said, I've seen him. He drew it. I've got to do it. So we have a full radius unit. I would say secondary to that was those columns. So your house has those front columns. The house that you did for me, full radius unit with those front columns.
Yeah. For a while, that was like that was what I pictured.
I love those still.
Yeah, they do look timeless.
And then it got to be like, how wide can we make them, and how tall can we make them, and then it just got out of control.
So it's funny. What are you getting the most? I mean, it's 2024, about to go into 2025. What are you getting the most requests for stylistically of your cut? Like, where are they now that you're seeing requests? And then where do you see design going, home design in the future?
I mean, we're getting, it's strange because like post-COVID, we have still so many people coming in from out west and up north where, the idea of like their parents' house is different than our idea of our parents' house. So a lot more modern, a lot cleaner, California vibe, like that whole thing. We see a lot of that kind of cleaner, a little bit more out of the box. People are more comfortable, I think, building something that feels truly like it's their own and not necessarily what was here, a generation ago or whatever. We see that, but then, my really good friend Brandon Ingram does beautiful traditional work, and I definitely see a lot more of that popping up.
You do,
really, I think it's more personal, like everything these days. Like you can have whatever you want. So what is that?
Man, that's changed the building game, hasn't it, though?
Yeah.
Instagram and Pinterest has changed the game. But I see it. I'm like, we don't really do that. But it's here.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess we'll try to figure this out.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been around enough to, like, people used to come in with clippings that they've been, tearing out of magazines for decades and binders full of stuff. And now it's just like you'll get a message on your Instagram, which I'm awful at. Yeah. We like this. Can you do this for us? Like, where are you? Like,
yeah,
you're doing stuff all the way around the country.
Yeah.
We came all the way to Oklahoma City.
That's right.
Remember?
But I think he's gone past that. Pull it together, man.
All right. Well, fine.
I don't know.
That was a big move for him.
I thought it was pretty cool.
You know the big Oklahoma City?
I know it well.
No, but it is fun, and most of it is, you know, people from here that are going other places, and we've done stuff for them before, and you know what they like. But some of it is, I mean, just completely random. Just they saw a picture that a friend of theirs posted, and then they called and they became a client, and it's so wild. It's cool.
Yeah, that is so cool. It's amazing how that it has opened it up all the way across the board.
And again, I am such a technological dinosaur that I still don't understand how the Ghost in the Machine works. Honestly, I draw my stuff by hand. You know, I would have a landline if I could, like that.
Man, doesn't a landline? Sometimes I think,
oh yeah,
the cell phone. Something about a landline in today's business world sounds so awesome with a secretary. Like if I'm out. No, it goes, I will get your message when I come back in because you can't reach me. It goes to the landline. Oh, glory days.
And to really mess with people, you got to get the old rotary.
Yeah, the rotary.
Well, you won't call anybody with a 9 in their number.
I have a 9 in my number.
Oh, boy. So I know we're coming to the end of our time here. We've already been going for a long time, and we want to keep an eye on your time because I know you're probably needed back at the drawing desk.
But what he's really saying is we want this to end so we can finish eating.
Yeah,
and have more wine.
Yeah, and have more wine.
Without the judgment.
Without all the online judgment.
So
because I already poured a second glass, so I have to hold off the third glass when the camera stops.
That's right. Anything else that you would have you thought of anything? I mean, gosh, we just went over a lot of stuff.
No, I'm trying to think, you know, because my co-host here is very worried that we inform the listener.
I feel like we did.
Well, can I turn it around on you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
So what would be like your ideal client? If you could choose, like, what would that client bring to you? What would they ask for? Like, what makes you happy when somebody knocks on your door?
I've got an answer.
Me too. You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
I'll go first. For me, what I have noticed through this is they don't have to know what they want because knowing what they want is hard because, you know, the world is your oyster when we're building at this level.
Mm-hmm.
I would say making quick decisions and sticking with them. That is going to be my business. And I get it because it's hard because the money is there and they want what they want. We've talked about it. This is their home. They're spending the money and they want what they want. But as I've said, you know, trying to build a moving target is very hard, which then makes the customer unhappy. And so when I have a moving target, what I don't like about that is not that they don't get what they want. I want to give them what they want. It's that they're ultimately going to be frustrated because it's a very complicated thing to do. So basically somebody to me who knocks on the door and they tell us what they want or we show them and they're like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And then we put it together and they sign off on it and then we get to build their house. And the reason why is because I know that ultimately that'll make them the happiest. Mm-hmm. That will ultimately make them the happiest. And that's truly what I want for our clients is what makes them the happiest. And sometimes I'm bad because like I told you, I like doing the sales part of it. When you have a sales mentality, you want to give people what they want to where I should much rather be like, hey, you already chose this. Let us build it. You know, instead I'll be like, well, we could maybe make that happen. And then trying to make that happen causes chaos.
Yeah.
So for me, when they come in and they are very, yep, no, yes, no, yes, no. And we put it together and they're like, yep. And off we go. I know that I can make a happy customer. And so that to me, if I can make the customer happy, that's the customer that I really want to work with.
Interesting. Along the same lines, for me, I take a lot of pride in, I know that the end result's going to be beautiful. So it's not even, for me, it's not even really about the product. Because I know with the years and years of experience I have that I can envision what you draw, Rodolfo, and see it. I can play it out in my head of what it can look like and what steps I need to take to make it perfect. So everything is perfect because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I know that's bad, but that's how I am. So if I said, what is the perfect customer? It's, to me, the perfect customer is one that says, hey, we know we're going to bid out 2 or 3 different builders up front, but let's just do that at a budgetary time frame on the first conceptual plan. I want that with every customer. Look, but a perfect customer for me was one that wants to come in the office, sit down with me and spend some time to get to know me, to get to know them. Far too often what happens is we just get a set of plans from an architect or a customer calls us and says, hey, I follow you on Instagram, or, you built so-and-so's house. We love those referrals. But they just say, I've got a set of plans. I need a price. Let me email them to you. When they say that, it's like, no, probably not my customer, because I really want the one that wants to come in, sit down, even if they're still going between me and a couple other builders. Let's sit down, let's talk, get to know me, because what my favorite customer is one that says, we've gotten that first round. I've gone and sat with these builders. I saw their stuff. I feel like I connect with one better than the other, and I'm fine with losing, right? But I want that one customer that says, I kind of like you. What I saw on Instagram, what I saw online is really the person I'm getting, right? Because that's what we try to be, is transparent. And that's the way I think, is if I can get them in, they pick us just to say, hey, let's just go through the pre-construction process. Even if they just don't get a permit or decide to do it, but do it with us, but commit to us. And that's where I find my happiest customers are, and the customer I want to work with most, because they've pre-committed to me and I'm committed to them, because I want to create for them the ultimate client experience or the customer experience throughout this process. And I know that is because when they're transparent with me, I'm transparent with them. And when you start off with a relationship like that, the build is going to be a success. You're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to run into rock. You're going to have some cost overruns because you're estimating something today that doesn't go on the ground till 14 or 16 months from now at the earliest. And so that's my favorite customer. The ones that just say, we'll pick a builder when after we get the permits pulled or this and that, is one that's probably not going to be my customer.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I've done those before, and yeah, we get through, but it's just not the experience I wanted them to have.
It's not the same. I think we're both saying the same thing in different ways. It's the same, but it's different. The ending's the same.
Right.
We want to be able to get the customer to be happy to enjoy their home, and we each have, because we're in different markets, different ways of doing that.
Absolutely.
And mine is definitely because it's been, hey, get to contract and get to building, or hey, they're still deciding between X, Y, and Z, and I'm antsy. I'm like, well, we got to build this thing at some point, and instead of being like, well, let's build it, it's, hey, let's make these decisions, let's stick to them, and let's build your house. What I try to tell my customers too, and this is, I'm like, listen, there are certain things that I will tell you. Think about this. Definitely think about it. Look, trimming your house, trim is a little more permanent. So let's think about it. Listen, your light fixtures, your plumbing fixtures, your countertops, if you're going to be here for more than 10 years, you're changing those anyways. So don't let that wreck your world, right? And sometimes, definitely at the price point that we're building at, I get a lot in my market of people that are my age, customers that are, this is our dream home. This is our dream home. I'm like, okay, but that right there lets you know the pressure that they're putting on themselves to try to make those selections. And then they almost get this, like, they can't pull the trigger because they're so worried about it. And it's like, no, it's going to be okay. And so really for me, it's like, let's get you in, let's get you committed to your design board. Let's agree to it and let's go. Because this will ultimately make you happier than this tossing and turning back and forth.
Yeah, I agree. So Rodolfo, we've now come to the end of our time. I know we could probably sit here and talk for another 2 hours.
We've come to the end of our time on the show.
Yeah. We're going to hang out for another couple hours. You all have to go.
That's right.
But Rodolfo, can you tell everyone how they can find you?
Sure. CastroDesign.com. And the phone number on there is the one that rings in my pocket. So I'm always available.
They get you.
They get me.
And also Instagram, right?
Instagram at Castro Design.
But don't DM me.
No, don't.
No,
DM.
do DM. What? No.
You can.
You can. He just said he's not good at it. Why you got to bring up a sore subject?
Oh, that's how we end every show. No, or at least the second.
At least the first 3 we've done. I don't know. Interesting.
Well, it's been awesome.
Has been awesome.
Yeah, thank you,
been
guys.
great.
We're going to put Rodolfo's information in the show notes, as well as some of the recipes, maybe, and once we find taste and see if we even like it.
Well, I love
You
it.
liked it.
I love it. It was awesome.
So-
the wine is delicious. I'm on my 3rd glass. Don't judge.
Frank family.
It's PM.
Napa.
You're fine.
Oh, it is PM. It's 5
That's
o'clock somewhere.
Unless somebody's in the gym listening right now
They don't
in the
know.
morning. Yeah, they don't know. Well, Rodolfo, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to have you back again soon.
Anytime. Thank you guys so much.
Awesome.
for having me.
Awesome.
If you like this episode, please hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Awesome. See ya.